Let's take another legal deep dive right now with attorney Hector Diaz. Hector, chances are there are more dinner burglars out there.
Right.
So what could they face?
Well, a litany of felonies. I mean, we're talking from criminal trespass to burglary to theft. I mean, this is, again, it's interesting that, we heard that they arrested some of these individuals. They could be developing, law enforcement could be asking these individuals, hey, you need to cooperate.
Yeah.
You need to tell us who else is involved here. That might be a piece of the investigation that's going on right now. But yeah, this is really serious conduct, and it's going to have serious consequences once these people are apprehended.
Yeah, another consequence is some of these homeowners, they could be considering defending themselves and their homes with a gun.
Right.
Now, how does that play out?
I get this question a lot. There's this assumption that if somebody's in your home, you get to defend it with a handgun, or you can use deadly force. And that's not always correct. It's a very nuanced, complicated question, and it deals with whether or not the person that, say, uses deadly force in their home to, in an encounter like this, whether or not they are acting in a reasonable manner and are facing the use or the attempted use of deadly physical force against them. And so just because somebody's in their house, again, it seems
doesn't mean that they have the right to.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Take the law in their own hands.
It's going to be a factor ultimately. And again, nobody wants to see something like this unfortunate happen, and but it would be reviewed by law enforcement and by a prosecutor.
What if they were attacked?
Again, that's a factor that would counter or would work in their favor in terms of whether or not they were acting reasonable,
fighting for their life.
For sure.
Yeah.
And again, not a very simple analysis, but it is one, that I think law enforcement right now, they want to get out ahead of this because they know that people are going to want to protect their homes with handguns. They are going to want to protect their homes with, and their families and loved ones in this kind of manner. But it's a complicated question, and hopefully nobody has to encounter that.
Sure. Okay, let's move on to a national case with Arizona ties. Even though Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial in the Rush shooting that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins is scheduled for July, armor Hannah Gutierrez-Reed from Bullhead City, Arizona, is also being charged with involuntary manslaughter in the shooting. Her trial began last week with each side arguing over safety on the set. Gutierrez-Reed was also subsequently charged with tampering with evidence as prosecutors alleged that she handed off a small bag of cocaine after her interview with police. Gutierrez-Reed is pleading not guilty. All right, Hector, two things here. On the one side, prosecutors argue that she didn't adhere to these safety procedures, but then on the flip side, the defense is calling the set chaotic. So what do you make of this?
Well, I think this is a situation where, the prosecution wants to paint her as being reckless, that she was not careful. She brought live ammunition onto the set. She was the armor. She's the person that was in charge here of running the show and making sure that everything was running safely. Her defense has pointed out, and again, they're in the middle of trial right now, and is pointing out that the investigation into their client was really haphazard, and it was really focused on her from the beginning, and they closed off other potential leads, other issues, that really she's not the culpable person, that there were others that were involved that had more experience here than her, and that law enforcement did nothing with these individuals in pursuing their investigation. So it is interesting. I think ultimately how this pans out, again, really tough, but I do think the jury is going to come back and find this young woman guilty because she had the responsibility here at the end of the day of making sure that everything was safe, that everything was put in place. We heard some testimony from experts that the prosecution had put forth in terms of the types of skill that goes into to making sure that this is taken care of, and really I think they're painting her out as being somebody who just didn't follow those procedures.
A little bit reckless. All right, and if she is found guilty, we know that she could face up to 18 months in jail.
Right, and again, her defense is putting forth a strong defense that somebody else was here responsible, but I think at the end of the day, the fact that she was the armor, that's
a
really
huge
telling.
responsibility. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay, Hector, thank you so much.